I want to start with a question. Have you ever found yourself asking, why do I keep doing this? I have to. Maybe it's overthinking or people pleasing, avoiding difficult conversations, shutting down, getting defensive, perfectionism, whatever it is. You know it's happening, and yet you keep repeating it. So if that's you, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You're patterned, and patterns can change. Today, I'm going to teach you my pattern reset method because before we can change a pattern, we have to understand it. A lot of times, we think the problem is the behavior, but really, the behavior is the visible part of the deeper pattern. And this is where most people get stuck. We think the behavior is the problem. I just need more discipline. I just need more confidence. I need to stop overthinking. But behavior is simply the visible part of something much deeper. Think of weeds in a garden. If you keep cutting the leaves off, but never pull those roots, the weeds always come back. Patterns work the same way. The behavior is the symptom. The pattern is the root. That's why changing habits is so hard if we never look underneath them. So this might be one of the biggest mindset shifts you're going to hear today. Most people hate their patterns, but I don't, because every pattern started as protection. Your perfectionism may have protected you from criticism. People pleasing may have protected you from rejection. Overthinking may have protected you from making mistakes. Avoidance may have protected you from disappointment. That doesn't mean the pattern is still serving you. It simply means your nervous system learned something once and has kept repeating it. So instead of asking, what is wrong with me? Try asking, what is the pattern trying to protect me from? That question changes everything. So I hope you have downloaded the worksheets that are along with this recording. Look in the comments or the details of the YouTube video. This is the framework I use in for my coaching clients. So look at your worksheet and let's go through it together. First thing you want to do is name your pattern. For example, the perfect then disappear cycle. Your trigger is what gets this started. It's the moment something activates your pattern. The event happened to you. The trigger happened inside of you. So there's different types of triggers. There's external triggers. These are the things that happen around you. For example, a deadline approaching, criticism or conflict, being asked for something, could be a really big opportunity, could be a change, uncertainty, silence from someone, being ghosted, could be family stress. Internal triggers are the things that happen inside of you. For example, I'm behind. I should know this. Or you have a fear of failing, you're overwhelmed, there's a sense of shame, self-comparison, pressure, self-doubt. Then listen to the thoughts going on inside of your head. Challenge them. Ask them, are they true? How do I know they're true? Now move on to your emotions and ask what emotions are coming up. When we can name our emotions, we can ask what it's here to teach us. I have an excellent feelings wheel according to your Enneagram type. If you want to download that, just take a look at my website under resources. Sometimes it's hard to identify the feelings, but once you do, you can name it and claim it. Now let's look at your responses. Think about what your typical response is. Don't judge it, just notice it. Do you withdraw and disappear? Do you attack and fight? Do you freeze? If you know your Enneagram type, it's helpful to notice your natural way you respond. Now think about what you're protecting. Is that still working for you? And what cost are you paying for this pattern? And is it worth it? This part can be uncomfortable, but it's also incredibly freeing. Patterns always have a cost. Maybe it's your confidence, your relationships, your energy. Maybe it's opportunities you never took. Maybe it's how you see yourself. The goal isn't guilt. The goal is motivation. When you clearly see the cost of staying the same, change starts to feel worth it. Take a look at the cost inventory worksheet attached and feel free to pause this presentation anytime you want to work it out. I want you to take your time. Don't rush through it. Okay, now let's move on to the next step, installing new responses. As you've probably noticed, awareness is powerful, but awareness alone doesn't create change. You can know exactly what you overthink, people please, avoid conflict, you're shut down, you find yourself doing it all over again tomorrow. That's because patterns aren't just mental, they're emotional, they're physical. They're wired into your nervous system through repetition. So now that you've identified your pattern, the next step is learning how to create different responses. That's what this next step is all about. So, one of the biggest myths about change is that if something is unhealthy, we'll naturally want to stop doing it. But our brains don't prioritize what's healthy, they prioritize what's familiar. Think about that for a moment. Your brain would rather choose something predictable than something unfamiliar, even if the familiar choice keeps you stuck. That's because familiar feels safe. Our patterns become automatic because we've practiced them hundreds of times, sometimes thousands of times. That doesn't mean they're permanent. It simply means your brain has become efficient at running them. The good news, anything practiced can be replaced with something new. Now, I'd like you to go back to the pattern reset map you completed earlier. Look at your trigger. Remember, that's the moment something activates your pattern. The event happened to you. The trigger happened inside of you. What thoughts did you have? What story did you find yourself telling? What emotions came up? And what did they tell you? What was your response? Was it automatic or new? And what were you protecting? And did it work? Finally, what was the cost? A relationship, time, money, energy? Just become curious. Curiosity creates awareness. Awareness creates choice. And choice is where change begins. Take a look at your worksheet. See if you can identify any of this. Patterns repeat because they are familiar. Change begins when we create options. I love this reminder because we're not trying to erase our past. We're simply creating more options. For a moment, reflect on these questions. What patterns did you notice? What usually triggers them? What surprised you as you completed this exercise? Often the biggest breakthrough isn't discovering something new, it's finally seeing something you've been living with for years. This thought captures one of the biggest mindset shifts in the pattern reset method. We often think the goal is to eliminate the trigger. If my boss would just stop criticizing me, if my partner would change, if life weren't so stressful, then I'd finally be okay. But life will always include triggers. Growth isn't about removing every difficult situation. It's about creating a new response when those situations happen. The trigger may stay the same. You don't have to. So, if you remember only one thing from today's workshop, let it be this: change happens in the pause. There's always a moment, sometimes only a second, between what happens to us and what we choose to do. Most of us move so quickly from trigger to reaction that we don't even notice that space. But with practice, we can begin to slow it down. Trigger, pause. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Choice, new response. That pause is where your power lives. The pause gives your nervous system time to settle. It allows your values, not your fear, to guide your next step. So, what do we actually do during the pause? Here are 4 simple ways to begin creating a different response: move, connect, regulate, or reframe. So, let's start with move. Sometimes your body just simply needs movement. Stand up, stretch, go take a walk, shake out the tension. Our body just needs to move. Connect. That could be something that this particular situation would warrant. Reach out to someone safe instead of isolating yourself. Do you have that safe person? Regulate. Slow your breathing. Ground yourself. Let your nervous system know you are safe. Reframe. Ask yourself, is there another way to look at this situation? Because you know there always is. You don't have to use all 4 every time. Start with 1. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is to create a new pathway. So in the pause, ask yourself, do I need to move? Take 1 action. Do I need to connect? Reach out. Do I need to regulate? Calm your system. Or do I need to reframe? Challenge that story. Most healthy responses fall into one of the 4 buckets, and that's what makes the framework useful. Instead of asking, how do I fix my life? You can ask, what does this moment need? Movement, connection, regulation, or reframing? That's a much easier question to ask than when the pattern starts to kick in. So this is what helps explain why we stay stuck for so long. A trigger happens, we tell ourselves the same old story. We respond the same way. For a moment, we feel relief. And because that relief feels good, the brain says, let's do it again next time. That's how the patterns repeat. Not because we want them to, because they're familiar. Understanding this helps us replace shame with compassion. You're not choosing your pattern. You're repeating what your brain has practiced. If you've ever tried responding differently and thought, this feels so weird, it doesn't feel like me, I should just go back to what I've always done. I want you to know that's completely normal. New responses almost always feel uncomfortable at first, not because they're wrong, because they're unfamiliar. Growth often feels awkward before it feels natural. So don't mistake discomfort for failure. Sometimes discomfort is simply evidence that you're building a new pattern. Okay, let's go to the last part of the reset method. Awareness helps you see the pattern. A pause helps you interrupt it. But lasting change comes from repetition. Every time you choose the new response, you're strengthening it. This isn't about getting it right every time. It's about practicing until your new response becomes your new normal. Have you ever made progress only to feel like you slipped back into old habits? Most people think they failed, but that's not what happened. Change isn't linear. Old patterns often reappear during stress. The difference is that now you notice them sooner. Instead of criticizing yourself, you'll reset. Progress isn't measured by never slipping, it's measured by how quickly you recover. This is the heart of the pattern reset method. Notice, become aware without judgment, reset, pause, and regulate. Respond. Choose a response that aligns with who you want to become. Repeat, because repetition, not perfection, is what rewires your brain. Simple, practical, repeatable. That's how lasting change happens. So many of us mistake our patterns for our personality. I am an overthinker. I am just anxious. I am too emotional. I'm always messing things up. But those aren't your identity. They're descriptions of behaviors you've practiced. Your patterns tell the story of where you've been. They don't determine where you're going. Instead of saying, I'm an overthinker, try say something like, sometimes I overthink. Notice the difference. One becomes your identity. The other becomes a behavior you can change. The language you use matters. When you separate yourself from the pattern, you create space for growth. You are not your pattern. You are the person learning to respond differently. It works with other things we accuse ourselves of. Take a look at these on the slide. Add your own. Which one can you identify? Which one can you reframe? If you're too emotional and that's what you call yourself, maybe tell yourself, my emotions are telling me something. I'm too loud. Is that something that you've always been told, even when you were little? Maybe it's because you have something to say and you want to be heard. I'm not valuable. It's not true. My value doesn't come from others. See the difference? All right. I'd like you to finish today by thinking about the version of yourself you are becoming. Not a perfect version, a practiced version. Someone who notices sooner, pauses more often, responds with intention, and trusts themselves. Take a look at your future self worksheet in the downloads. Who are you becoming? What will remind you to reset? Why does this matter to you? Those answers become your roadmap moving forward. Most patterns happen quickly. By the time we realize we're overthinking, or withdrawing, or procrastinating, or people pleasing, or spiraling, we're already inside the pattern. The goal is not to make decisions in the moment. The goal is to create a plan before the moment arrives. Be proactive. That's what an if-then plan does. If-then plans create a new automatic response. We're not going to be relying on motivation and willpower and confidence and feeling ready. We're creating a predetermined decision. So take a look at your worksheet. Take a look at the early warning signs. I want you to be equipped to do this and be successful. Who do you want to become? So, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. My hope is that you leave today with one important realization. You don't need to become someone else. You simply need to interrupt the patterns that no longer reflect who you are and who you want to become. The pattern reset method isn't about changing your personality. It's about changing your relationship with your thoughts, your emotions, and behaviors, one intentional choice at a time. So if today's workshop helped you see your patterns more clearly, imagine what we could accomplish together by applying this process to your specific challenges and goals. Coaching gives us the time and the space to uncover what's beneath the pattern, build personalized strategies that work for your life, and practice them until they become second nature. If you're ready for that kind of transformation, I'd love to support you. Remember, notice, reset, respond, repeat. That's where lasting change begins.